Well, welcome to Focus today. We have a very interesting topic, especially for those who might have been knowing of the name Christopher Hitchens and some of the things that he has said. Alex Taunton is an author, a freelance columnist, and the executive director of Fixed Point Foundation. And I have a lot of questions about that, as well as Christopher Hitchens. But first of all, Larry, thanks for being with us. And looks like you're ordering a pizza.
What makes you think that?
Well, I'm looking at the back wall, and if I had a pizzeria, that's the wall I would have.
Well, I'm actually sitting here drinking coffee.
I like it already.
I'm planning on having leftover pizza for lunch. How's that?
Somehow I knew there was a connection there going on, and that sounds great because, pizza just tastes better heated up twice because all the elements, like they said in The Office, get to know each other.
Yes, and with a brick background, it always makes it tasty.
Hey, Larry, a lot of things to talk to you about. First of all, I need to know about Fixed Point Foundation. Give me the Reader's Digest version of that. What is that organization?
Yeah, we're dedicated to the public defense of the Christian faith. There you go.
Wow. Okay, I was going to give you a little more time than that, but okay, and as a result of that, you get to talk to a lot of people, including people like Christopher Hitchens. Now, probably one of the most well-known atheists who came from a credible background, and you had some sort of a discussion. You had an ongoing friendship with him. Am I right in that?
I did indeed have some sort of relationship with him.
Now, he died, about 11 years ago, right? But
No, he died in 2011 of esophageal cancer.
5 years ago then, okay. What was your relationship? How did you know him? How did you come about having dialogue with him?
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, Christopher was best known for his atheism. And after the publication of his 2007 bestseller, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. I mean, you don't have to read that book to know what's waiting for you between the covers. Our organization, the organization that I direct, the aforementioned Fixed Point Foundation, we take on guys like that, the real vociferous critics of the Christian faith, and Christopher Hitchens was one of those guys. And so I first met him in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I was prepared for Christopher to hate me. I mean, I'm everything that a guy like that is supposed to hate. I mean, I'm a white Southern evangelical Christian, and on top of that, I live in the suburbs. So you would just think Christopher Hitchens would loathe me. And I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like him either. I mean, I'd read his book, which was a rant, and I expected the man to match the book. But surprising to us both, we got along with each other quite well.
And so what was, if you could kind of describe it, you met and you talked. He had, I mean, it sounds like with the books and who he was, he wouldn't have much respect for you, yet you did have some sort, would you call it a friendship?
Yes, I would. Excuse me. I have a bit of a cold. Christopher and I, this book, The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, which is just out and has been praised from everybody on the right, like Eric Metaxas and Ravi Zacharias. But a few nights ago, I was on Hardball with Chris Matthews, and Chris Matthews said this book is a beautiful story of friendship. And that's what I was aiming for. This isn't a book that excoriates Christopher Hitchens. It's not a tell-all. It's not an expose. It's, as someone rather eloquently put it, this is Thelma Louise, except that the characters are an ardent atheist and evangelical Christian. It's a buddy story. It's a friendship between two people of opposite views, but who managed to get along quite well. And Christopher and I, after his diagnosis with esophageal cancer, a diagnosis that he knew to be a death sentence, Christopher and I took 2 lengthy road trips together where, remarkably, we studied the Gospel of John together.
All right, so what did you notice in his life after doing that?
Well, Christopher Hitchens, his life, when my publisher first asked me to write a book about Christopher Hitchens, I said no. And it's because I was thinking, biography. Christopher Hitchens' biography would be a bore. Between the time he was born in 1964 and, in 1949, and then in 1964, at the age of 15, he declared himself an atheist. literally burned his Bible, became a communist, and a major left-winger. Between that time in 1964 and 2001, September 11th of 2001, Christopher Hitchens' life was quite predictable. You named the leftist cause, and he was there along with other standard bearers of the left to take up that cause. But something changed with Christopher with 9/11. He said, "I can no longer go along with the leftist narrative, the knee-jerk leftist narrative that says that America got what it deserved on 9/11 and that America is responsible. I mean, we hear this now, is responsible for all the ills in the world. This is Obama's narrative." And Christopher attacked the left politically. But then something else happened with Christopher Hitchens. In 2007, Christopher published his rant, "God is not great, how religion poisons everything." And suddenly the left, welcomed him with open arms again. This is the Christopher Hitchens they knew and they loved. And their shared connection was a hatred for religion, Christianity above all others. But Christopher, part of his publicity campaign for that book, he told his publicist, he told his publisher that he was issuing a challenge. He wanted to issue a challenge to people of religious faith to come out and debate him. Christopher discovered that Muslims didn't. They didn't take up that challenge. Very few Jews did. No Hindu did. But evangelical Christians, above all, did take up that challenge. I was one of them. And so Christopher found himself engaging with a lot of evangelicals, and much to his surprise, he liked them. And so in this book, The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, I tell the story of what was going on with Christopher off stage, because he was a man who spoke of himself. This isn't something I invented. Christopher spoke of himself in his own memoir and elsewhere as a man of two books. And what he meant by that was that there was a public manifestation of Christopher Hitchens and a private manifestation. The metaphor two books is a reference to a kind of fraudulent bookkeeping. There was the public books that people see, but the real account, the real balance is in the hidden books. And so Christopher was very different away from the stage than he was on it. And after his diagnosis with esophageal cancer, Christopher began exploring a kind of religious conversion. And that's what is jarring a lot of people.
I want to let people know we're talking to Larry Alex Taunton, author of that book, The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, The Restless Soul of the World's Most Notorious Atheist. In the few minutes we have, I hate to do this because I'm sure your book is a wonderful read, and I hope people will read it. Let's get to the...
You will buy it, yeah. And then everyone listening to us will buy it in bulk.
I'm sure. The Faith of Christopher Hitchens. Let's jump to the end of his life. Did he ever profess any faith from what you know?
Well, for that, you really have to buy the book. But in all seriousness, I make no claims of a deathbed conversion. Lady Hope of Caradon, very famously, some 32 years after Charles Darwin's death in 1915, she claimed that Darwin converted on his deathbed. That story has been repeated for more than a century now. The problem is there's very little evidence to support that. I make no Lady Hope of Caradon-like claims here. Rather, Christopher and I, you have to picture this. Christopher and I drove from his home in D.C. to mine in Birmingham, Alabama, after his diagnosis with cancer. And here I am. And Christopher spoke of this publicly. I mean, this is on the public record. As we're driving through the Shenandoah Valley, here I am. It's almost comedic, and the irony wasn't lost on either of us. Here I am, the evangelical driving. Christopher is sitting in the passenger seat of my Tahoe. He has a Johnny Walker Black Label Scotch squeezed between his knees, his reading glasses perched on the end of his nose, and he's reading aloud from the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. We did this for hours. And I don't know how many Bible studies you've attended where Scotch is on offer, but this was my first. and it was wonderful stuff. And if Christopher didn't like it, he had an odd way of showing it, because a month later we would do it again. This time through Yellowstone National Park. Some of this is on YouTube, actually, but you can find some of this story. Christianity Today has called this book a superb, a wonderful book list, which is a secular reviewer, has given it a coveted starred review and called it lively and loving. So this isn't, atheists, if they'll give this book a chance, I think they'll find they'll like it. Atheist Michael Shermer has endorsed this book. He loved it. So this is a story of two people of opposite views enjoying a friendship, and of my effort to share the gospel with this man. And this is all in the book, The Faith of Christopher Hitchens.
All right. You know what? You piqued my interest. Larry Alex Taunton, the author, The Faith of Christopher Hitchens, The Restless Soul of the World's Most Notorious Atheist. Fascinating. I'm glad you had that opportunity and that you took the next step to document that. It sounds like that'll be a fascinating read. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it, Larry.
Hey, delighted to be with you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Stay tuned. We've got more coming up on Focus Today.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.